2 days becoming a crew, becoming a team.
After you go through an experience like this, it's more than a team. It's almost like a family. We are so tight to go through something as intense as this. So, you know, as you said, this is like a bridled beast. This thing wants to take off.
Switch to onboard helium.
No, you're not the crier of the group.
Feeler of the group.
No, you are not.
I'm crier.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You are officially an astronaut.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel?
I feel super connected to love. So connected to love. I think this experience has shown me you never know how much love is inside of you, like how much love you have to give, and how loved you are until the day you launch.
Oh my God. They're training? They did 2 days.
Katy Perry, I just want to congratulate you on being the first astronaut to sing in space for real.
Thanks, Jeff. It was one small step for women, one giant leap for my lifetime's tour. By the way, it's Captain Perry now. I know you're just a simple businessman, but I went to space for real. That makes me Space Captain Perry.
Katy!
I love everything about it. I love the fact that they all decided to be part of Jeff Bezos' phallic fantasy, to get in his penis-shaped rocket. Their little spaceship is shaped exactly like a breast with a big nipple at the top, and blast out into, like, quote, space.
Katy Perry went to space for 11 minutes, but Megyn Kelly brought her right back down to Earth. In today's video, we're diving into the savage takedown that has the internet buzzing. Megyn Kelly didn't just question the hype around Katy's glittery Blue Origin flight, she shredded it. From calling out the over-the-top branding to asking the one question no one else dared to say out loud. Was this really a historic moment for women, or just a super glossy PR stunt? Buckle up, because this wasn't just a clapback, it was a roast session in orbit.
All their training comes down to this. Their training? What are you saying? Lauren Sanchez can't string 2 sentences together. She's only known for showing her breasts to people. Gayle King can't, we don't know how smart she is. All we know is that she's friends with Oprah. That's how she's gotten every gig she's ever gotten. And then you got Katy Perry, who spent her big moment spending more time looking inside the camera than outside the craft, because she was too obsessed with showing us the little things she'd brought to space and making sure she was seen on camera with her doe-eyed little look.
I feel really connected to that strong, divine feminine right now.
What are you guys gonna do up in space? What are you doing up there? A space mission this morning. That's end time shit. Like, this is beyond parody.
This is all for the benefit of Earth.
You care about Mother Earth, and it's about Mother Earth, and you're going up in a spaceship that is built and paid for by a company that's single-handedly destroying the planet.
An all-female Blue Origin space crew with celebrities including Katy Perry, Lauren Sanchez and Gayle King has been hilariously mocked after it returned to Earth following an 11-minute trip into the Earth's atmosphere. Katy Perry jumped out of the aircraft and kissed the ground in a painfully cringe moment that has been roasted online.
Everybody goes when they fly on Delta. And it would have been fine. If they had done it, we would have mocked their obsession with their little outfits and Lauren Sanchez with the breasts huge and pumped out even in space. We would have mocked it a little, I'm not gonna lie. But they wouldn't have taken serious blowback like they did from both sides if they had just done this. If they had gotten off of the thing and come back down and said, that was amazing. Raining, it all comes down to, literally they learned how to buckle their seatbelts and wear the suits that were designer and showed Lauren Sanchez's boobs. Okay, no one's gonna convince me that those rockets are not phallic. I think we're all just part of some weird Jeff Bezos sexual fantasy right now. What we got was lectures in how brave they are, how proud I am of me, which is what Gayle King said, and how proud we all needed to be of them, how nothing that happened on board that spacecraft, which is what they wanted us to call it over and over, like it was an Apollo mission craft, was frivolous. Nothing around this space flight, this space journey, that's how they wanted to be referred to, not a flight, was frivolous. Meanwhile, they invited the Kardashians, Okay, they could invite anybody in the world to watch them, and they invited Oprah and the Kardashians. But then they don't understand why we didn't take it seriously.
All right, imagine this. A rocket is about to launch with the first ever all-female crew. Sounds epic, right? Like, finally, women taking over space. Everyone thought it was going to be one of those big history just got made moments. But nope, things didn't go down the way people hoped. 6 women hopped on a Blue Origin rocket, Jeff Bezos' space toy, and headed up. The media made it sound like a giant leap for womankind, something inspiring for girls around the world. But then the internet found out what really happened. Yeah, they weren't feeling it.
5 more words.
Katy Perry regrets space flight. Michelle, sad story. Katy Perry reportedly regrets making the all-female Blue Origin ride such a big spectacle. And she especially regrets the video from inside the pod being released after all the backlash she's gotten. Do you feel bad for her?
No.
No.
No, not even a little bit.
It's okay. Leave Flynn up there. Flynn, bye. You look.
People were calling it cringy. Some even said it felt like a step backward instead of progress. Here's why. The flight lasted just 11 minutes, and only about 4 of those were in zero gravity. That's barely enough time to finish a snack, let alone make history. So naturally, it didn't get the standing ovation they were hoping for.
I don't like that people are calling it a ride. A ride, you never see a male astronaut who's going up in space and they said, oh, he took a ride. We actually duplicated the route that Alan Shepard did. No one said he took that ride. Yeah. It's always referred to as a flight or a journey. So I feel that that's a little disrespectful to what the mission was and what the work that Blue Origin does.
The media hyped it like this was a huge feminist moment. They didn't say, hey, it's just a quick celebrity ride to the edge of space. Instead, they made it sound like this mission was going to inspire every little girl to become an astronaut. It was sold like a moment of women finally owning space. But the reality, it felt more like a PR stunt in a rocket.
That's strength. So I feel really connected to that strong, divine feminine right now.
By the way, you're such a badass. I love that the month of April, you're like, I'm going to space and I'm launching my tour.
People were expecting something huge. A mission that lasted days, included real science, maybe even a breakthrough discovery, something that actually showed why space exploration matters. What they got instead? A short joyride. More like a fancy amusement park ride than a serious space mission. The internet, of course, reacted. One person joked that they thought the crew would be in space for a few days, not just 4 minutes.
3 minutes. Speaking of Jeff Bezos' sexual fantasy. 3 minutes, I tell you, Paul. And got down like, they thought they'd never see us again.
And honestly, it's a fair reaction. It just didn't live up to the hype. What was meant to be groundbreaking ended up looking like an overpriced vacation for celebrities. And yep, you guessed it. Katy Perry was there. Because if someone was going to make a space trip feel like a glittery music video, it was her. So what exactly did they do during those 2 days before the launch? Well, not a whole lot, honestly. The crew spent their time at Blue Origin's facility going through basic prep. According to a rep from the company, one of their key tasks was practicing how to get in and out of the capsule. That's right, just learning how to hop in, then hop back out. Someone on the team even joked, you go in, and then you go out. That's it. One more time, ladies. They also ran through how to buckle and unbuckle their seatbelts. That was the bulk of the training. No simulations, no emergency drills like you'd see at NASA, just a couple of practice runs.
What they wanted us to call it over and over, like it was an Apollo mission craft, was frivolous. Nothing around this space flight, this space journey, that's how they wanted to be referred to, not a flight, was frivolous. Meanwhile, they invited the Kardashians. Okay, they could invite anybody in the world to watch them, and they invited Oprah and the Kardashians. But then they don't understand why we didn't take it seriously. Then you have them kissing the ground when they got off of it. Honestly, like they had just been saved from the Titanic and got back on land. Ahoy, mateys! No, they were kissing the ground. They were up there for 3 minutes. Speaking of Jeff Bezos' sexual fantasy. 3 minutes, I tell you, Paul. And got down like, they thought they'd never see us again. Then you have those 2 morons who are doing the commentary at Mission Control. One of whom is former Fox/CNN, one of whom is ESPN, sitting there talking about this again like it's Apollo 13, like they're in real danger. They could get stuck up there.
It's the training, it's the team, it's the whole thing. I couldn't recommend this experience more. This is like up there with all the, different tools that I've learned in my life, from meditation to the Hoffman process. This is up there because what you're doing is you're like really finding the love for yourself, because you got to trust in yourself.
Meanwhile, Katy Perry was hyping the whole thing up like it was a fashion-forward space mission. She even joked about putting the ass back in astronaut, and just like that, after 2 days of light training, they were space ready.
The training, it all comes down to literally they learned how to buckle their seatbelts and wear the suits that were designer and showed Lauren Sanchez's boobs. Okay, no one's going to convince me that those rockets are not phallic. I think we're all just part of some weird Jeff Bezos sexual fantasy right now.
But here's where it gets real. This isn't NASA. This is Blue Origin, a private space tourism company. Their whole thing is space for everyone. That's it, if everyone has a spare $200,000 to $500,000 sitting around.
This is all for the benefit of Earth.
You have done so many incredible things in your life, selling millions of records, selling out stadiums. Where does this experience rate for you?
This experience is second to being a mom.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. And that's why it was hard for me to go, because that's all my love right there. And I have to surrender and trust that the universe is going to take care of me and protect me, and also my family and my daughter.
Let's be honest, that price tag knocks out 99% of the planet. So yeah, it's empowering if you're already part of the millionaire club. While Katy's out here selling sparkly space dreams, most people are just trying to afford groceries or keep the lights on. And it's not just regular folks throwing shade. Even celebrities like Emily Ratajkowski called it out. She pointed out how wild it is that billionaires are playing astronaut while the Earth's literally in crisis mode.
I feel really connected to that strong, divine feminine right now.
What are you guys gonna do up in space? What are you doing up there?
A space mission this morning. That's end time shit. Like, this is beyond parody.
This is all for the benefit of Earth.
You care about Mother Earth, and it's about Mother Earth, and you're going up in a spaceship that is built and paid for by a company that's single-handedly destroying the planet.
And then Megyn Kelly entered the chat. Let's just say she didn't hold back. She didn't just side-eye Katy Perry's space trip, she torched the whole thing. No fluff, no filters. Her message landed hard, and not just with her usual crowd. After watching the super-produced footage, the slow-motion space shots, the dramatic music, the glittery branding, Megyn asked the question a lot of people were too polite to say out loud. Was this really a historic leap for women, or just a really expensive Instagram story?
Then you have those two morons who are doing the commentary at Mission Control, one of whom is former Fox/CNN, one of whom is ESPN, sitting there talking about this again like it's Apollo 13, like they're in real danger. They could get stuck up there. And as they land, they say, oh, all their training comes down to this. Their training? What are you saying? Lauren Sanchez can't string two sentences together.
Oh, the moon. You guys, I have to tell you, look at the moon. That's amazing.
She looked past the sparkle and saw something deeper, a PR machine selling spectacle as substance. And honestly, a lot of viewers agreed with her. This wasn't just about Katy. It was about how media spins moments, slaps on a message like empowerment, and expects applause.
Then you have them kissing the ground when they got off of it. Honestly, like they had just been saved from the Titanic and got back on land. Ahoy, mateys! No, they were kissing the ground. They were up there for 3 minutes. Speaking of Jeff Bezos' sexual fantasy. 3 minutes, I tell you, Paul. And got down like, they thought they'd never see us again.
Kelly called it what it was, performance over progress. And in a world full of perfect filters and polished sound bites, her unfiltered take hit a nerve. Because while some were celebrating a milestone, others were side-eyeing the whole production, wondering if any of it actually meant anything. Her takedown wasn't personal, it was cultural, a reality check. She voiced the quiet doubts that had been simmering online, that the mission, hyped as a triumph, felt more like a brand launch than a scientific breakthrough.
Just a few weeks ago, actual astronauts who got stranded in space for months, floating around in weightless condition, not in this, luxury vehicle, were rescued by another rocket and brought back to Earth, and it hardly made a splash on the media. These people have already gotten 50 times the publicity that those heroes and the person who rescued them got.
Yeah, ISS and Elon, right? The people who are on the International Space Station.
Jeff Bezos basically put his girlfriend and her pals into a giant vibrator, shot them into orbit for 10 minutes, and they came back telling all about the thrill. We've got everything upside down. And if women get any more empowerment of this sort, they're going to be denied the right to vote.
And let's be real, the internet, it exploded. Memes, threads, think pieces. People weren't just roasting the mission, they were questioning the whole system behind it. So if Megyn Kelly sounded mad, maybe she was just saying what a lot of people had been thinking. It's easy to get caught up in glitter and slogans, but sometimes it takes someone bold and blunt to cut through the noise and say, wait, is this even real progress? Because what was supposed to be a huge moment for women in science, well, it might go down as one of the biggest PR flops of the year.
1, 2, 3, taking up space! Tamir's in space. It's okay. Leave Flynn up there. Flynn, bye. You look.
Then, that's when Wendy's came in. Yep, the fast food chain roasted Katy Perry on Twitter for her super short space trip. When the burger joint's dragging your rocket ride, that kind of says it all. Space tourism was supposed to be revolutionary. Instead, it started looking like a rich person's flex.
It could have been a promo stunt for the super rich to do something. They don't have a Coke habit anymore, so it's like, let's spend the money. But you know what it really was? It was an advertisement for getting a sugar daddy. Lauren Sanchez. Why was she there? Because her boyfriend's Jeff Bezos. It's basically saying, you want to do this? Find yourself a billionaire.
Well, she didn't marry him for his athleticism. He couldn't even walk around the damn thing without falling.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they had just pitched it as a silly celebrity-packed joyride, people probably would have shrugged and moved on. But no, they wrapped it up in this whole empowerment and progress narrative, as if it was some turning point for women in STEM. They tried to frame it like they were changing the world, but really, it came off more like, look at us floating and having fun in zero gravity. And the critiques didn't stop at Twitter. Even celebrities like Olivia Munn and Olivia Wilde spoke up. They called it over-the-top unnecessary and questioned why anyone would spend $1 billion on this. Wilde even joked that all that cash basically bought them some decent memes. So yeah, if the mission's goal was to inspire, it kind of missed the mark. So here's where the internet really started asking, was this whole thing worth it?
$1 billion bought some good memes. Olivia Wilde just shaded Katy Perry's 11-minute trip to space on Instagram. Katy is getting dragged by the entire internet. So basically, a bunch of billionaires spent billions to shoot a promo for a space tour company, then told us to save the planet after dumping a ton of CO2 into the atmosphere. Spending your own billions to boost your life experience is one thing, but pretending it's some huge contribution to humanity and lecturing people who can barely afford to eat about saving the planet, honestly, Katy kissing the ground was one of the cringiest, most performative things I've ever seen.
Across social media, people weren't just dragging the short flight, they were questioning why that much money and that many resources were poured into something that lasted less than a lunch break. In the middle of all that heat, crew members like Lauren Sanchez and Gayle King spoke up. Sanchez pointed out how hard the Blue Origin team had worked and said critics should see it for themselves. Gayle King admitted space travel isn't cheap, but she was hopeful that one day more people could afford to go, and that these early missions could help make that happen.
Gayle King popped out again.
But I'm not going to let people steal my joy or what we accomplished that day. I'm just not going to let it in.
Gayle King said she's already receiving notes from young women and girls saying how inspired they are by seeing this moment of female empowerment. This is honestly just ridiculous. Don't try to make it about feminism. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're women.
But then there was the glam factor. Katy Perry showed up in a glittery spacesuit, talking about how excited she was to bring some sparkle to the galaxy. That vibe rubbed some people the wrong way. Critics said the whole thing felt more like a fashion shoot than a scientific mission. And then came the environmental pushback. a lot of folks raise concerns about the carbon footprint of these joyrides to space, especially now, when climate change is literally right before our faces. Emily Ratajkowski didn't hold back. She straight up called the mission End Times Energy, pointing out how bizarre it is that billionaires are floating in rockets while the planet's burning up. Then there's the price tag. A seat on that rocket costs anywhere between $200,000 to $500,000. So while the mission was sold as space for everyone, in reality, it's space for the 1%. That had people asking, is this really about progress or just another exclusive club for the ultra-rich? Also, the whole first all-female flight angle, it sounded groundbreaking, but let's be real. Women have been part of space exploration for decades. NASA's had female astronauts since the 80s. So yeah, cool milestone. But the real focus probably should have been what they were doing up there, not just who was going. And let's talk about the media. A lot of outlets hyped it as a big feminist moment. By leaning into the celebrity drama and the feel-good angle, they might have set the bar way too high. When the mission turned out to be more style than substance, people were left feeling let down. This whole thing has turned into kind of a what not to do example for future space missions. It showed how important it is to be clear about what a mission is actually about, not just wrap it up in buzzwords and hope people clap. Moving forward, if space tourism wants to be taken seriously, it's going to need to strike a balance between spectacle and actual value. Right now, it's heavy on the glitter and light on the science. Looking back, this Blue Origin mission had some big names: Katy Perry, Gayle King, Lauren Sanchez, Aisha Bowe, Amanda Nguyen, and Karina Flynn. And while Bowe, who's legit former NASA engineer, and Nguyen, a civil rights advocate, definitely brought credibility, people couldn't help but question the overall goal. Was this about pushing women forward in STEM, or was it just a shiny PR move?
All their training comes down to this. Their training? What are you saying? Lauren Sanchez can't string 2 sentences together. She's only known for showing her breasts to people. Gayle King we don't know how smart she is. All we know is that she's friends with Oprah. That's how she's gotten every gig she's ever gotten. And then you got Katy Perry, who spent her big moment spending more time looking inside the camera than outside the craft, because she was too obsessed with showing us the little things she'd brought to space and making sure she was seen on camera with her doe-eyed little look.
I don't like that people are calling it a ride. A ride, you never see a male astronaut who's going up in space and they said, oh, he took a ride. We actually duplicated the route that Alan Shepard did. No one said he took that ride. Yeah. It's always referred to as a flight or a journey. So I feel that that's a little disrespectful to what the mission was and what the work that Blue Origin does.
I thought that they got a lot of respect. I was a little surprised at this.
It was a ride. You're not an astronaut. She said she was the mission. You went up and you came down.
Critics weren't gentle. Emily Ratajkowski repeated her warning, saying it was wild to glamorize space trips while Earth is basically crying for help. The emissions from these kinds of flights are no joke, and when people are trying to cut down on carbon everywhere else, these short, high-impact space rides kind of feel out of touch. The media played a huge role in how all this landed. By hyping up the all-female crew and the celeb status of those on board, it created sky-high expectations. People were ready to be inspired. But when the dust settled, many felt like the mission hadn't delivered what it promised. Of course, the crew had their own take. Gayle King spoke about how the mission could inspire the next generation. Lauren Sanchez pointed out how committed the Blue Origin team was and encouraged people to look at the work behind the scenes. They both tried to shift the focus to the bigger picture, like what this could mean for women in space long term. But even with those efforts, critics weren't letting go. Some people said the trip looked more like a high-priced photo op than a serious step forward. And while it was being sold as historic, others reminded the public that women have been in space for decades, from Valentina Tereshkova in the 60s to today's NASA missions. This wasn't the first rodeo.
Well, here's the feather, which is what your mother calls you. And if that's not enough, the capsule's named Tortoise, which is your second nickname that your mother calls you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going. Yeah. I got the message and I'm going to get the message.
The whole thing also stirred up the ongoing debate about space going commercial. Private companies like Blue Origin are leading the charge. But it's not just about rockets and adventure. It's also about money. And when profit starts to outweigh science, people start to worry that meaningful research could get left behind. Now, if we zoom out, this mission kind of acts like a preview of what space tourism might look like in the future. But here's the thing. It's got to be more than just hype and luxury. If these trips are going to stick around, they need to offer real value, real science, real inclusion. Public reactions were all over the place. Some folks were cheering for the representation, others rolled their eyes at the celebrity angle. Twitter, TikTok, everyone had a take. Memes were flying, and that mix of praise and shade shows just how split people are when it comes to fame, wealth, and space. Looking back, this all-female flight said a lot about where we're at with space exploration today. Yeah, it marked a milestone, but it also showed that good PR doesn't always mean real progress. Future missions are going to need more than headlines. They'll need purpose.
So here's what happens. Katy Perry and a bunch of rich women go, right? Gayle King and the rest. And there were 3 other women on that flight that no one really knew about because they were so overshadowed by these women. And Katy with her Daisy because her daughter and all the rest. And now to come back and say, oh, Wendy's wanted me to stay, and oh, I'm so sad, and this was terrible, and yes, I felt the love, and I'm glad that I went, but this backlash is horrible. Think it through. It looked stupid. It was stupid. It was a PR stunt. It was not a mission.
Meanwhile, the environmental talk didn't slow down either. Critics were quick to point out that all that money and fuel went into an 11-minute ride. And with the climate in crisis, it felt like a tone-deaf move to some. People wanted to know, could that cash have helped here on Earth instead? Even within feminist circles, the mission sparked debate. Some said it was a win for visibility. Others thought it was just a glossy gesture that didn't actually move the needle for women's rights or science. And the fact that most of the crew were celebrities, not seasoned astronauts, only added to the noise. The whole thing has basically become a case study on what not to do with space tourism PR. It showed how important it is to keep the messaging honest and in line with what's actually happening. If a mission's just for fun, say that. If it's meant to make history, back it up with real substance. As space tourism grows, finding that balance between putting on a show and doing something meaningful is going to matter more and more. The Blue Origin all-female flight did mark a milestone, no doubt. But the backlash, that was the world's way of saying cool idea, but next time, deliver something deeper.
Katy Perry, I just want to congratulate you on being the first astronaut to sing in space for real.
Thanks, Jeff. It was one small step for women, one giant leap for my lifetime's tour. By the way, it's Captain Perry now. I know you're just a simple businessman, but I went to space for real. That makes me Space Captain Perry.
Excuse me, Captain. Hello? We have a problem. You need to get down here right away. All right, we'll be right there. What's the problem?
Please, Jeff. You don't know as much about this stuff as I do. I sang in space for real, after all. So what's the problem?
Man, for some reason I feel dumb around you. Anyway, when you sang in space, alien communication satellites picked up the sound waves.
And they loved it. I knew I felt a connection when I was in space for real. I sensed the magic of the universe coursing through my foof.
No, they transmitted this message to us.
Greetings. I am Superlin, captain of the non-binary from the planet Endopharma. My species is gender fluid, so our pronouns can morph from Z-Zim to bleep blorp at any moment. And we pee out of our big green jugs. When we heard Katy Perry sing, it was triggering for us. I mean, who the hell makes a real spaceflight about themselves by trying to sing to an entire planet without consent?
So what exactly went wrong? Honestly, if the team had just come out and said, hey, this is a fun ride for rich people, most folks probably would have laughed, maybe even supported it. But when they went for that whole empowering moment for women angle, that came with big expectations. People thought this was going to be impactful, something inspiring, something with purpose. Instead, it felt like a quick celebrity promo in space. And that let down? Yeah, a lot of people felt it was fair. Now let's talk about Katy Perry. Because, of course, she's not one to stay quiet. Just a few days after the internet dragged her space trip, she hit the stage at her Lifetime's Tour 2025 kickoff in Mexico City. And she made it loud and clear, she's not backing down. The 40-year-old pop star who faced major criticism after her Blue Origin flight clapped back in her own way, mid-performance. She recreated space-themed choreography, flew through the air during her set, and basically turned the whole controversy into part of the show. At one point, she asked the crowd if anyone had ever been told their dreams were crazy. That seemed like her way of addressing all the hate without naming names. She even took a selfie with 2 guys wearing NASA jumpsuits, because of course she did. Despite the backlash, fans calling it a PR stunt and labeling the crew space tourists, Katy Perry shrugged it off. She danced, sang, changed costumes a bunch of times, and kept the energy high. She rocked everything from a silver metal bodysuit to a soft white dress. And yes, she wore tubes on her head and shredded on a guitar like nothing had happened. So while critics had plenty to say, Katy made one thing clear. She's still doing her thing, gravity or not. But it turns out the backlash hit harder than expected. According to someone close to Katy, the criticism really caught her off guard. And it didn't just affect her. It was tough on the whole crew. The insider said Katy doesn't regret going to space. For her, it was a life-changing experience. What she does regret, though, is how public and flashy it all became. The goal wasn't to cause a media storm, it just kind of snowballed. So yeah, between the canceled concerts and the space trip backlash, it's been a rough ride for the pop star. But if there's one thing we know about Katy Perry, it's that she always finds a way to bounce back. That's it for now. If you're enjoying this breakdown, you already know what to do. Hit that like, smash subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with your crew. Catch you in the next one, because this tea is only getting hotter. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.